Firstly, I would like to clarify a few things that Ms. Campbell brought up in her public comments. The minimum $31,200 wage was for all other employees, not including the Sheriff's Department. The starting pay for deputies was raised to $46,000, and the board also agreed to freeze one position, which is a local position, to allow for attraction of seasoned employees and the potential to offer sign-on bonuses if necessary at some point. The board does fund 4 SRO positions. We have had trouble filling all of those at the same time, but the Sheriff's Department is actively recruiting all deputy positions. Also want to mention that the school division does have a $250,000 security grant that they are currently working on how to use within the school division. Okay. Go back to my regular report here. As far as COVID-19, the current VDH data for Nelson County as of August 5th, based upon a 13-week average, is 6 new cases, and the 7-day average of new daily cases of 4.1. To date, the county has had 2,897 cases of the virus and 36 deaths. Per the CDC, Nelson County's community risk level is at medium now. It has been at low. The CDC guidance for this level includes if you are at high risk for severe illness, talk to your healthcare provider about whether you need to wear a mask and take other precautions. Also stay up to date on COVID-19 vaccines and get tested if you have symptoms. Ms. Munger spoke to you all earlier about the spotted lanternfly. I was going to report just that the quarantine expansion had occurred as of July 8th through VDAX to some areas around Nelson County, but now we know we have the spotted lanternfly in Nelson County. And Virginia Cooperative Extension will be the lead agency dealing with that here in Nelson. There is the potential for the county to participate in a grant with TJPDC. They've been approached by several jurisdictions in our region asking if they would be willing to serve as the lead applicant for a multi-jurisdictional Safe Streets for All grant through U.S. Department of Transportation. And this would be to facilitate the development of either a regional comprehensive transportation safety action plan or individual local comprehensive safety action plans. So far, all jurisdictions have indicated they are interested. The application deadline is September 15th, and they need to know if they can incorporate Nelson into a scope of work and grant application. The PDC staff is reaching out to a consultant to see if they can scope the project and give them an estimated cost by jurisdiction, and we're still waiting to hear those results. There's a 20% in-kind or cash match, and staff time associated with the project is allowable as a match. We're expecting more information on this to be available later in the month, and a decision on participation by Nelson would be requested at the September 13th meeting. And there's up to, I think, $1 billion available for this program in FY22. We just got an update on the comprehensive plan, so I won't talk about that much here. The Piney River Water and Sewer System, Usimco Pump Station, we're still waiting for delivery of one of the VFDs that operates one of the pumps in that pump station, which is now expected in October. Staff obtained a pump station replacement estimate for planning purposes for a cost of $140,000 to $150,000. And let's see, this includes 25 horsepower pump to 350 gallons per minute at 120 feet with the base plate, motors, controls, and piping. This does not include any site work, dismantling of the current operation, or potential design work, which could add another $100,000 per haul truss load. So that's just for planning purposes here in the future when we may need to replace that pump station. So the county's local detention costs are expected to be much higher than budgeted in FY23. We usually budget a base amount of about $10,000. And The increase in cost is primarily due to the recent detention of 3 juveniles with serious criminal charges in Nelson County, being held for an indefinite amount of time at the detention center, which is historically highly unusual. And this is coupled with an increase in the detention center's per diem rate for FY23, which is now $330 per day. The court services unit staff could not provide an overall estimate at this time. However, they advised that the monthly cost for these 3 individuals was expected to be around $30,000. We are monitoring this, and we'll report back once more is known regarding their potential detention timeframes, but additional budget amendments will be forthcoming related to this. The Larkin property acquisition, county staff and county attorney are working with the seller and their attorneys to establish a concurrent closing date on the property acquisition and the bond financing for the property purchase. And this is currently scheduled to happen August 12th. As far as the repair of the termite damage in the courtroom, we did get another local estimate, which ended up being about 3 times the cost of the original estimate from Jamerson Lewis. So, spoken to Jamerson Lewis, and they're going to send a small construction agreement over to us in order to get the work done sometime in October or November. The new office building for social services, building inspections and planning and zoning update is PMA Architecture is working on a conceptual package to be shared at a meeting sometime in August with the project team, including staff and administration, buildings and grounds, social services, building inspections, planning and zoning, and Mr. Barton and Mr. Parr. They are wrapping up the space needs assessments for the departments and have moved forward in developing the conceptual site analysis, which includes suggested locations for the new building footprint, parking surfaces, and roads required to access the site. They've been in communication with their civil engineers and are providing them the necessary information needed to continue working through their base map and programming studies. I introduced to you Linda Staten, the new Finance and HR Director, earlier, and I want to thank Mr. Rutherford and Mr. Reed for participating in that hiring process. We have begun the recruiting process to fill Ms. Staten's former position of Finance Technician 2, dealing with payroll and HR. We have hired 2 certified dispatchers since our last meeting. August Mason started work on July 18th, and Michelle Alger started today, August 9th, leaving 3 vacancies left to fill. So now we have a 25% vacancy rate, down from 42% in early July. And like I say, the starting pay adjustments made by the board for these positions were certainly helpful in their recruitment. Let's see, we have no new information to report on the Renaissance Ridge housing development. Haven't gotten any new information in terms of where all the plans they've submitted to the various agencies are today. The fiscal year 22-23 budget, we have finally completed work to finalize it within the accounting system. We generated the adopted budget reports for staff, public posting, and for rollover to the new fiscal year. The new FY23 revenue and expenditure report will be available in September. I do believe you all got other department and office reports with the agenda document. That's all I have today.
Thank you so much. Any questions for Ms. McGarry at this time?
Could you fill us in with a few more details about the Larkin acquisition?
Okay.
We're closing on it on the 12th. We had a little bit of a complicated things we had to work through.
But there doesn't seem to be anything.
There's nothing in our way other than just the 2 agreeing on a date it was.
Right.
And that's the
right. And it's a movement of paperwork back and forth.
Yes.
To be able to meet that deadline.
And there was some additional things that were needed to be recorded.
Right. Before
we could close, and that required a bond counsel. It was a whole thing. Katie worked very hard on this one. I will say it actually monopolized a large amount of her time and part of mine.
And Mr. Payne's as well.
And Mr. Payne's. So, but August 12th will be a good day. Any other questions for Ms. McGarry? Hearing none, let's move on to
Thank you.
board reports. Randy, I got something that's kind of more of a directive, but I might forget the report, so you might do the same. Going to be, hopefully, I want to get to the things that are on top of my mind before I forget. Working on the short-term rental conversation that we had a couple months ago about how we do enforcement, how do we collect data, and how can we find out who's not paying taxes. I have a very brief meeting. This is not the very large one that we talked about having with the Commissioner of Revenue and staff. I'm having a brief meeting with just a handful of short-term rental people just to kind of get a feel of who's got the best info for the sake of not having 30 people in the room. Mr. Reed, you said you were going to be able to join me that day. Mr. Reed, I've invited Mr. Hauschner to just have a quick meeting with about 10 or 15 short-term rental people just so that I can get a feel of who's got what info to help provide for stuff. This is purely for the enforcement of taxes. So they're assisting us in getting information to Commissioner of Revenue, and et cetera. Soon after that, and there's a potential date of September 14th, somewhere in September, where we'll try to have the large one with staff, the Commissioner of Revenue, just to get the final info about, what can we do to assist you. Of course, one thing to keep in mind is the state law that comes into effect that requires all online platforms to pay directly to the county. Any local taxes will also be a very good benefit for us in resolving that issue of the non-payers of transient occupancy tax. So that's a quick update there. Hopefully everything goes smoothly. Beyond that, one other report. I had a conversation with Livingston Fire Department. Oh, you want to ask a question about that? Okay.
So your initial meeting is?
It's just
what purpose?
To pick out, as opposed to 30 people, just grabbing 5 or 8 people who have the most info and probably the best info to give, and also kind of help.
But also they have a interest.
Oh yeah.
A particular interest of not taxing. So I want to make sure that when you have your meeting, that the government is part of that or dominant in the people who are deciding.
So I think you're misunderstanding me. There's 2 meetings here. That's the government one, and then this one's just grab 6 or 7. Yeah, of course. That's why
The
Mr.
first meeting.
We are just having a discussion about, hey, what mechanisms do you all think exist, and then pick those 7 to bring to the government. All the rest of the key players in this to kind of discuss.
Because I've been asking about that. The idea that there's some simple solution to get more people to pay doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist, but
But state law.
State law will be a huge.
Be helpful.
That's going to be very massive. So that's good. Yes, Mr. Reed's coming. Don't worry. And we got Robin Hauser too. Beyond.
No,
go ahead and do your short.
Okay, so, I talked to Jesse about this after we talked.
Yeah.
So, I'm very appreciative that Jesse's taken the initiative to do this, but I'm also sympathetic to what you're saying. So, because there's 2 pieces to this puzzle. One is the revenue side, but the other is to what degree do we have the ability or the opportunity to try to regulate short-term rentals and to do it in a way that benefits the county, that makes sure that all available housing doesn't go into short-term
But
rentals.
we recognize that.
Absolutely,
The rental property.
Right, but that I think should be staff driven.
Yeah.
And so, I was gonna hold this for directives, but I will give Candy something to think about while she's gone, which is, to talk with planning and zoning and to start setting a forward-thinking agenda to find out what options are available for us that are allowable statewide, and a lot of that has to do with what other localities that have similar problems than we do. And the way I read it, just about every locality that has large short-term rental occupancy rates is or has gone through the same thing. So there are a whole range of options out there, things that we might consider. But the planning commission needs to look at that. Planning and zoning, I think, need to really drive that. So if it's possible to get that moved up towards the front burner so that we can have these two initiatives going on concurrently, it'll probably move things forward a lot better.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely, I know we had mentioned in the course of the budget when we decided on this, what I was doing was purely just trying to get the enforcement mechanism and help get the key people who can help. For example, Wintergreen, as a result of our conversations, went and put a new ordinance in place saying that, I'm fairly certain it's passed, so don't quote me yet, check with Jay Roberts. But Wintergreen, if you own a house that you're using as a short-term rental, you now mandatorily have to report to Wintergreen. And that was as a result of our conversation, so that's a good thing. And so that's one thing that we're going to be able to bring to our discussion. How can that info move from here to there? And as Mr. Reed says, yes, certainly we need to have that discussion and move forward. I would task Dylan and Candy to kind of figure out what that looks like, because Louise is doing it right now. And so maybe there's a metric there of how they did it or how we don't want to do it that might make sense to you guys to talk about. Yeah. Thank you. Is that your direction?
That's it.
I'm supportive of that. Okay. All right. What other reports did I have? TJPDC. It's been great. Regional Housing Partnership. We are working on some key stakeholders. I might be talking a little bit about a topic that's not talked about enough. It's rural displacement. When younger groups or demographics no longer live in Nelson County, what is the causation? What does that look like? What are the impacts and how we can try to alleviate some of that, hopefully at our conference, which you all better come. Better be there. There'll be great discussions there. Also is going to be a short-term rental discussion piece as well. So we're bringing in some pretty big name people to discuss what that looks like, what impacts it does have, and what impacts it doesn't have. And just a few other topics that are very pertinent to Nelson County. So again, I'll remind you all of those dates. Furthermore, talk to Livingston Fire Department. Let's get, you almost going to forget this one. Livingston Fire Department is going to be doing the Christmas parade. This is exciting. We're very excited to be bringing these parades into Livingston again. They do need some help from us, just in alleviating some costs and whatnot. We received an email today from Mr. Johnson of Company One, and they were kind of hoping. They also do help shut down and provide lighting and safety for Halloween. I don't know if any of you have ever been to that, but that's a pretty big deal. They just need some help, guys. They asked for $3,000 to $5,000 just to kind of offset costs and fuel. And, you know, one of the things is trying to get prizes for the Christmas parade, which is, it's a good thing. Another big push that they did this year is they have a rain date. Am I correct when I say that, Candy?
Yes.
They're going to do a rain date as well. What were the potential dates?
I
Just so
want to say the 10th, and then the rain date was the 17th.
I'm going to pull that up because this is. But beyond that, I think it would be great if we could support them with this. It is my recommendation that we try to get close to that $5,000 number. Let's see, the date that they're potentially doing is December 10th and a rain date of December 17th. In the event weather becomes an issue like it was last year. So, what does the board think about doing somewhere near that
I think
$5,000?
it's a good idea.
I think it's a really good idea. It gives us an opportunity to get the best of our fire department out to the public to try to recruit at the same time that we're providing a great service. I didn't see the email. I'd like to see what's proposed. That is, you know, I would just like to see it before. Thank you.
Well, I should have sent it to you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, anybody else have any thoughts on this? I mean, it's a good thing for Livingston too, because we also now have the Livingston Village Association has been rebirthed, which also, keep in mind, has anyone seen the beautiful murals done over down there in the Monroe Institute building? If you haven't, make a chance to go to the John Bradshaw building and look across the street. Miss Patty Avalon had done an excellent job. It's absolutely beautiful. Of trying to just bring some excitement into Livingston. We had a Livingston meeting recently that was just a huge success. We had 30, 40 some people, and it was just awesome. We got a few committees talking about doing entrance signs at Livingston, what that could be, you know, talking about business development, beautification. These are all very exciting things that, you know, we were working on hard before COVID, and since then we had a little bit of a delay with COVID, but folks are moving forward. It's awesome. It's really fun to see some excitement about the 29 corridor.
I think the proposal that I just read from you is great. I would like to see some of that money go towards promotion.
Sure.
But I don't, you know, there's no way we can really do that, but, you know, if you're picking the higher number from 3,000 to 5,000,
We want to do, yeah. I think Jerry West has a big piece in this too, so he might be able to assist in some of that. All right. Anybody else have any questions on that one? Because I was kind of hoping we could get a motion out of that. Can we get a motion to get the Livingston Volunteer Fire Department? Sure.
5,000,
That's
what we talk
That's
about.
a good number. I like that number.
I'll make a motion.
All right, we have a motion for that. Do we have, and this is for the Christmas parade, helping them with costs. And we'll do some promotion. We'll emphasize, hey, use some of this money for promotion of it too. Motion,
I'll second.
second for Mr. Reed. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, let's do a vote by acclamation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition, abstentions? Hearing none, thank you. If you could just let Mr. Johnson know and say, hey, we want help with promotion. How can we do that? So, thank you guys. That's awesome. Livingston, thanks you. That's all the reports I have. Ms. Parr?
Didn't have any
Okay.
EMS this week.
Mr. Harvey? Mr. Barton?
I'm just curious, how far along are they in planning for the social service building? Has that been started?
Yes, they are working on completing and summarizing the space needs, after talking to all the departments, and then the engineers are working on, kind of the site development aspects, where the building might go, what the footprint looks like, access to the building, the roads, parking lots, etc. We should be close to having a meeting toward the end of the month or early September.
All right. Hearing no more reports, we'll move on to appointments. Now, I do believe we were sending some letters, correct, Amanda?
Yes, I just need to collect some signatures from you all.
Okay.
at completion.
Yeah, okay. That's thanking some folks for their service. We do not have someone for the Nelson County Service Authority as of yet for the South District.
Service authority.
Sorry, Service Authority.
I'm actually might have someone.
Okay, tell them to apply.
But the person asked me not to say anything until.
That's fine.
They were assured that they were willing to do it.
Just send them on over to Amanda. Region 2000, Steve's retired. We're going to move Candy up, and then Region 2000, Amanda?
You would be the alternate.
You would be the alternate, got it. Can we get a motion to put Candy on the Region 2000 Service Authority Board member as well as Amanda Spivey as the alternate? So we have a motion, we have a second.
Yeah.
Second for Mr. Barton, any discussion? Any other discussion, we'll do a vote by acclamation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any abstentions, objections? Okay, hearing none. Moving on to the clerk to the Nelson County Board of Supervisors. Steve is obviously retired. We need to put Candy in that role. Can we get a motion to put Candy as the clerk to the Nelson County Board of Supervisors? We have a motion from Mr. Harvey. Is there a second from Mr. Farr? Any discussion? Hearing none, let's do another vote by acclamation. All those in favor say aye. 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 Any abstentions or objections? Hearing none. Congratulations, Candy. You got 2 jobs. Moving on to, we have some existing vacancies, Library Advisory Committee. No applicants at this time. Have we had any inquiries yet, Amanda?
I think we got one phone call about it, but we have not received any applicants. So still looking, we'll be advertised for that as well as a service authority, position.
Okay.
And see what we get.
Great. All right. Any other questions about appointments? Otherwise, we've finished our list. Okay. Thank you all. Moving on to correspondence. Mr. Carr, do you have any correspondence? No. Mr. Reed? No. Mr. Harvey? No. Mr. Barton?
I prefer well, let me wait for directives.
All right. Well, we're going to directives now, so you go.
Is there anything we can do to help the Heritage Center in terms of getting through their last legal hurdles before they can sign an agreement with the health department?
We are actually going to be discussing that in closed session.
Okay.
Yes, for, under legal advice. Mr. Payne will be here to speak about that.
And the second directive is, we need to begin to talk about the kind of recreation facility we're going to have. If we assume we purchase this land and it's going to be on the land, I would like to get that started as soon as possible.
Mr. Barton, if you don't mind me adding, I'd like to have potentially a deliberate meeting just for that topic. A special meeting just for that.
Okay.
Does that sound reasonable?
Sounds good.
Let's get through August 12th and I'll talk to Candy and staff and we'll try to pick a day. Because I agree. I think that'd be good. And that way we could just focus on that because I think that deserves its own. Yes.
We can afford together.
Yeah, no, that's what we're gonna do. Yeah.
You don't need all five to do everything, then you
Yeah.
have a couple.
5 of us and a couple of us run with it. For a little bit.
Well, this one would have, yeah, two,
Yeah. We understand you.
do the work.
Sounds good. All right, so we'll do that once we get through game day. All right. Any other directives? Mr. Carr?
Well, I would like to see us, I know we don't have any input on how the school system will be allocating that $250,000 security grant, but I do think it warrants conversation. And I know today's a bad day with school starting tomorrow, and it's unfortunate they couldn't attend the meeting today, but I completely understand. But I do think that it would be a good conversation for us to have and see what the thoughts are with that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I know we don't give direction on that, but I would like to be involved in the conversation or hear what their thoughts are.
If we put up that kind of money, we should have some.
Well, it's not, we're not putting up the money. It's not coming from us, it's a grant that they have. So I get that, but I think some good points have been brought up and, things are changing. And so I know the school board historically in the past fought the idea of having metal detectors in the building and the congestion at the doors and getting in and out with the students, when the buses run low and how that might affect the school day. But that was years ago, and I do think it would be a good conversation to have. And then we also need to be aware, school's starting tomorrow, so we all need to be looking out for the buses and increased traffic. And with this one afternoon bus route, I know, especially at High River, the way the traffic is going to go and changes they're making, it's going to be quite a bit of increased traffic. And apparently there's no help available due to staffing, I guess, I don't know, from the sheriff's department to help out with that traffic concern. So this week will be interesting to see how it goes, but it would be nice if we need to keep an eye on it and see if there's any.
For the traffic problem, state police, more for the sheriff's department.
I don't know how that chain of command works, but
It's highway traffic, I would think they would have, be somebody need to talk to.
that's all I have.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I just wanted to add something to what Mr. Carr said. I did have a conversation with Dr. Hester recently, briefly about school safety. And she noted that they were actively talking with the Sheriff's Department about that very issue and doing some research on the use of metal detectors. So they are, it's definitely on the forefront of their minds.
Thank you.
All right. I guess another piece is we do have, I think you said it in your report, we do have 4 funded SRO positions, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have we had any interviews? Because I guess they're not counting, those are sheriff.
Right, the Sheriff's Department, we usually don't know about them until they're hired.
Okay.
So I know that they're just, recruiting is ongoing, and it's a lengthy process for them.
Sure.
Well, just to add to that, part of the problem that they're running into, I'm sure, is the package that the state police is offering to hire away. So it's making it very competitive market.
I mean, that's not even counting. Yeah. That occupation itself is, not many people signing up.
Yeah.
Now, I guess you don't have to be road certified to be an SRO, do you?
I
That's a
don't want to
sheriff.
say, because I'm not real
Yeah,
sure what
that's-
certifications you
I can
have
help
to
you
get.
directly. Just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
All right. Any other, let's see, who else did I miss? Mr. Reed, did you have any directives, or we both kind of ours and reports? Mr. Harvey, do you have any? I don't have any this time. We need to, you got your closed session right there for you. We're going to be going into a closed session. If you could read it, Mr. Reed.
I move that the Nelson County Board of Supervisors convene in closed session to discuss the following as permitted by Virginia Code Sections 2.2-3711. Discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of any public body. Consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff members pertaining to actual litigation where such consultation or briefing in open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the public body. And consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by a public body regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel. Nothing in this subdivision shall be construed to permit the closure of a meeting merely because an attorney representing the public body is in attendance or is consulted on a matter.
So that's a motion. Do we have support? I need a second. Second from Mr. Harvey. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's do a roll call vote.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Barton? Mr. Parr?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes. All right. Motion passes. Thank you all. We will open the doors up in a little bit.